This is the overview video for question 1 of paper 2's period study. The idea of this video is to help you to understand how to answer the question to score as many marks as possible. This question will always be laid out in the same way. Describe 2 consequences of, and it will be for 8 marks, so that's 4 marks available for each consequence. Essentially, we need to think about this as 2 4-mark answers. Let's take a look at what the mark scheme looks like for this question. 4 marks are available for AO2, which is your analysis of consequence, which we know this question is all about as it tells us in the question. So we need to think, what happened as a result of this event or this development? You need to state that really clearly so the examiner can spot it straight away and give you the marks. 4 marks are also available for AO1, which is your knowledge and understanding. Again, you need to show the examiner that you've got a really good knowledge of the topic. So when you're explaining that consequence that you've just given, you show that you've got a really detailed knowledge to explain that in a little bit more detail. It also tells us in the mark scheme that the AOs depend on each other. So that means no matter how well you perform in one of them, if your performance isn't quite as good in the other, then it means that you can't progress into the higher band. So make sure that you're hitting both the analysis and you're bringing in your own knowledge to evidence that analysis. To score highly in this question, you need to be giving developed statements. So by that we mean that you state your consequence nice and clearly at the beginning, then you give some evidence from your own knowledge to explain the consequence in a bit more detail and show that you've got a really good understanding of the topic. Now this question is only worth 4 marks, so you don't need to write absolutely loads, but just make sure that you've explained that consequence in enough detail to get your point across. Let's take a look at an example to see all of this put into action. So this is a question taken from the British America option, and it says, describe 2 consequences of the Enlightenment on Northern American society. Here are some of the points that you might have made. So let's take a look at an example. Your consequence could be that more people became more educated and therefore more aware of their surroundings. So that's your consequence, and then you just need to explain that in a little bit more detail. So you can say that people perhaps were more willing to question the norms and traditions and customs of their society, so things like the wealth divide and the role of the monarch. Keeping it nice and concise and clear like this just makes it easier for the examiner to give you the marks because they can see exactly what you've done.